Hello? What's going on, YouTube? Oh my goodness gracious. Of course, the microphone doesn't work. In the first cast of the season, did you really think we were gonna go have a smooth transition? It's the first time. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Osiris League Season 3 round of 16. That is right. We are here ready to rock and roll the 13 UTC matchup. There are 3 in parallel, and we will be keeping an eye on this one right here. Former Osiris League Season 1 champions are going up against C9N, a team that's been pretty much in every playoffs, I believe, that even in top 16 on every single one of the seasons. Maybe this time it'll be their time to shine against OV. If I'm not mistaken, and don't quote me on this one, because our research team is not the greatest research team on Earth. Spoiler alert, there is no research team. I'm fairly confident OV and C9N met in the playoffs in the past, and OV had taken out C9N before. Now, don't quote me on this one, because, again, our research team is not doing the best job this season. We're going to have to beat them up a little bit until they do. Again, there is no research team for the record. On top of that, UCS are about to go up against Raze, and for 11K, former Season 2 Realm of Anubis champions, well, still Season 2 Realm of Anubis champions, going up against Rose from Kingdom 239. For this match, I will be casting with one of the content creators that you all probably know, none other than Dragothian Gaming himself. He's already on the line, ready to rock and roll it with us, and momentarily we'll get that headset on and get Dragothian up in here as well. But for now, I want to see in the chat really quickly, who do you guys think is gonna win this match? Comment with a hashtag C9N or hashtag OV. I've been seeing a lot of, obviously it's gonna be C9, it's gonna be OV. Obviously it has to be OV, but is it going to be OV? I wanna see all of you in the chat right now letting us know, is it going to be OV or C9N? Shout out to all of you tuning into the 13 UTC matchup. It's just about time for us to, well, in about 2 minutes or so, get in the match. If we go take a quick peek at the history of both these teams, I think we can go take a look very, very quickly. Where are they? Are they on this side, right? They are on this side. Bam. Hello? Will you open? Yes. So C9N going 3 for 3 in the group stage of playoffs. They beat LIIG in their last match. Titans and 49F are out of the playoffs in this season, and C9N with very solid victories on their past couple of matches and a very close match against LIIG in the last playoffs group stage match, which put them in first place, and LIIG went to second place as a result. OV dropping a map to SFS, who I believe are now K374, right? They're on this side right here, K374. They were former SFS. They beat OV in a very surprising turn of events. OV came back against JST and had a close match, which they managed to close with a victory and make themselves out, get themselves out of the into the playoffs. MCO took a big loss to OV, about 9,000 point differential. OV haven't seemed as, they went against some very, very strong teams, and their results haven't been as big. In the C9N department, we're seeing a lot bigger results and differences, and that's, of course, the difference in teams within those groups. So keep that in mind as we progress into this match. And the match should be starting any moment. As soon as the watch button appears, we will switch to the casting scene, and from there, Dragothian will take it. But right now, we're waiting for that watch button. With that being said, you know what? Let's get ready to rock and roll. Good luck to all teams playing from all of us here. And yeah, let's do this thing.
All right, everybody, welcome to the match here. We've got a matchup of heavyweights. We've got C9N versus OV. Like Gecko said, OV has been consistently in every Osiris League. This is the third one being really going against some of the bigger heavyweights of this game. They have merged a lot of the Realm of Anubis alliances into the Realm of Horus. The Realm of Horus has got some massive heavyweights, 2 of them you're about to watch today. I'm really curious to see how OV has changed their game. I know that, like Gecko mentioned earlier, they had a little bit of a hiccup earlier in the qualifier round there with the round of 32. And now being in the round of 16, this is do or die time. We've got C9N on the trending up scale where they've been really putting some solid wins in their back pocket. I'm really interested to see if C9N, with being not necessarily a newcomer, but an up-and-comer with having some escalated strategies, will go up against, again, the Season 1 champion, OV. We've got a lot of the same faces, but maybe the strategy is a little bit different. Gecko, what are you thinking that we're going to see here at the very beginning of the match? I know that we usually have, the standard, let's get the obelisk, let's position on the map, but what do you think we're going to see? Anything different, or C9N maybe doing a different strategy than what's got them here in the first place?
Yeah, honestly, first and foremost, Jago, it's always a pleasure to cast with you here on the official Rise of Kingdoms channel. And although we did do the introduction, I always like to cast with anyone in here, and you and I love doing this thing. When it comes to something new and different this season, one thing that I've noticed a lot of teams doing is that they send a rogue Cao Cao very early on. More often than not, there is a rogue Cao Cao running towards the obelisk to catch it first before the initial rallies make it towards that obelisk. But in previous seasons, those marches would just march back home. And in this season, I've noticed a lot of teams taking that Cao Cao, Osiris, whatever it is, moving forward and actually trying to yoink an obelisk away from the opposition before their rally arrives. I have yet to see a team who actually managed to get it done, but I've seen it happen plenty of times, so I think that's going to be something different. And also rallies on outposts. I've been seeing a lot more early stage rallies on outposts to move troops around.
Yeah, I've seen that too. And as we're starting the match here, I have to point out that a lot of the things that you just described, I've seen it happen quite a bit in regular ARC matches, but not in Osiris League. I mean, Osiris League, like we've all seen, is the cream of the crop. It's where the top alliances come to play, and that's why they're here in the first place. And being in the round of 16, I mean, this is the top of that cream of the crop. So I'd be very surprised to see these obelisks go in any other color but their home colors. That being said, we've also seen some changes with people using mobility marches very early on, trying to really position themselves on the opposite side of the map early and having a presence, making the opponent have to deal with a large number of players really on their front doorstep. And that, alongside of taking that obelisk right off the bat, is really curious to see if that's something that a lot of these alliances are going to be really kind of using to strategize what they're going to do early on. Because like you said, early on, it's usually kind of standard, and things are starting to change, I think.
Yes, sir. We're watching Send on C9N grabbing the outpost just like Slouty did, but Send went straight towards the obelisk at the bottom. Slouty, utilizing a resource node, a caravan, actually used that extra march speed right there. He did have one available next to his obelisk where Send from C9N did not, so that could be a very slight advantage to an extent, but again, Send made it to his obelisk faster than Slouty did. Slouty retreating means we won't be seeing him running up. Let's go take a quick peek and see if, it looks like Send is backpedaling as well, so we won't see a rogue march going up to try to catch an outpost. One thing that an obelisk, or even an outpost really, OV, 3 outposts already, C9N still missing their front one, couple of marches almost there, so that's going to be a very, very, very slight advantage early on for OV. Nothing very meaningful. I'm more worried about who's going to get that second obelisk first and how long of an advantage they'll have there.
Yeah, it'll be about 10 seconds. Here comes God from the top, from downtown.
Oh boy.
C9N about to grab that obelisk. There it is right there. And with that being said, 10 seconds it's 10 seconds, right? I mean, it's not going to be a major advantage, but it's still something that gives OV a little bit of a 10-second advantage on points. That gives them a 10-second advantage on teleporting. And when we're talking about teleporting, I've always said this from the very beginning whenever we started casting ARC in general, let alone Osiris League and Osiris Invitational and all those good things. The quicker you can teleport, the quicker you can rally. The quicker you can rally in this match, the more you can take the initiative, the advantage in the match. And when you've got that initiative, you can start to dictate the way the game's played, and really kind of throw your power around. And with both of these alliances being large power alliances, hence being in the round of 16 in the first place. It's almost a prerequisite. You are going to see some big fights, and I guarantee you in the middle, in about probably 10 minutes or so, you'll really start to see a massive, massive battle in the middle.
Absolutely. One thing that I did not point out was that C9N were down one rally compared to OV in the very beginning. All OV with 4 marches, 4 rallies straight into both obelisks and both their obelisk and as well as the opposition's obelisk. C9N was a little bit late with one of them. It's okay. This is still plenty of time, but you can see OV already have a Tao Tao, a rogue Tao Tao, right next to the Blue Desert Altar. Now, if you're watching Osiris League or Ark of Osiris in general for the first time, make sure we want to let you know how some of the terminology you'll be hearing. You'll also have a bunch of pop-ups on the screen with general information and quick tips to success for you to be able to play this game mode a little bit better. But then in a nutshell, the most important thing you'll need to know is that this is a mirrored map. You can see right here as we show you on the screen the line in which the map is mirrored. So for example, this desert altar is the Blue Desert Altar, and on this side is the Red Desert Altar. So if you hear me or Dragothian say the other team's building, it means that the red team took a building that is supposed to be blue and the blue team took a building that's supposed to be red.
Yeah, and if we're looking at the desert altar for the blue team, like you just described, that one march went away, but here come another 10 right behind them. And I've already seen Harold throwing some axes, which means we're going to see the latest commanders in action from C9N. OV and C9N both have access to the largest commanders. There it is right there. You can see a lot of these newer commanders causing a lot of disruption in these matchups because of their AoE damage, because of their debuff capability, because of their just raw damage. A lot of these new commanders are built for Arc and built for other phases of the game. And with that being said, having 1 second left, here we go. Let's see who pops in.
Ooh,
this is always the fun part. Okay, so Shrine of Life going to OV at the top.
Yes, but Desert Altar, C9N picking it up, and that was a huge and important pickup. The Shrine of Life is a great pickup for OV. It's a great disturber at this point for a C9N, but there is not enough open field presence here to hold on to it for much longer. I would say another 10, maybe 15 seconds, which is about, we'd say 20 points, give or take, taken away from C9N. Not a tragedy, but there's a quick tip we need to give folks about the situation we saw in the Desert Altar. Picking up the Desert Altar first, as you said, is the most important thing. But if there is a little bit of time like there was here where OV and C9N clashed in front of the Desert Altar, which march should you prioritize? As crazy as it sounds, you should always go looking for any Garrison Commanders or Attila Takedas. The more important thing is to get rid of those enemy Attila Takedas, because if that Attila Takeda gets in the building and becomes a captain, all those cavalries are just going to come in, and you trying to swarm down the building with an Attila Takeda captaining it is a nightmare. You can see C9N have some garrison commanders around here. We even saw Mulan by OV. So far, so good. C9N grabbing their Shrine of Life, and a slight advantage for them points-wise. It's about to turn towards OV, though.
Yeah, I agree, and just that 20 seconds, right? It took not only to take that Shrine of Life back, but it took a lot of troops because they had to swarm it down. They didn't want to wait for a 1 minute rally, which is Arc exclusive as well. It's the only place you can rally in 1 minute. With that being said, they being OV are committing some forces over to this Desert Altar, but C9N is holding the field relatively strong here. They're holding that Desert Altar. I would look to see on the bottom side of the map, which I don't see any OV presence whatsoever on the opposite side. They are all on defensive mode on the bottom lane of this matchup. And here comes an Attila rally against this Desert Altar for OV on the bottom side with good field support. This is the proper way to do it. You want to have the field support rally plus swarm. This is really the way that a lot of these top tier alliances are starting to take structures away, because honestly, the garrison commanders are so good in this game now. Basically, the last 4 to 5 sets of commanders have been great, but you know what doesn't help is not having a full garrison, which is what this Desert Altar seems to not have. That's going down very quickly, Gecko.
And so is Attila Takeda, though. Someone was hitting that Attila Takeda with an early, what was it, Tamaris, which just destroyed his life. He went up to like 12 stacks, if I'm not mistaken, with skill damage, and then a bunch of cav marches around here doing skill damage with Khan, doing some damage right there. There is, on top of that, debuffers like Ethelfled. I see a Hannibal Barca. I see a couple of debuffers as well as massive damage dealers. This Attila Takeda rally is going out the window, and as you may know from previous seasons, we're starting to experience a little bit of lag. There are 3 matches happening at the same time, completely full of viewers all over the place, and we're definitely going to expect a little bit of lag happening throughout the cast. But trust me when I tell you, if we're having it like this, what they're experiencing on the field, trust me, you prefer to be watching at this scenario. Here's another Herald.
Yep, I see the Herald.
Snorlax. I love it.
Yeah. This Artemisia is holding strong. OV is definitely putting some reinforcements in as they've needed to. There goes the rally. But there's still a couple C9N, but OV's relatively cleaned that up. That was a good defense by OV. Didn't really give as much as needed. There, I do see a Zenobia in the Shrine of War on the blue side. And there's a Guan against that Zenobia, but it doesn't look like it's doing much against it. Zenobia being, again, guys, one of the best garrison commanders to have in this game. All the reports that we've seen from Zenobia have been very favorable. And with a Guan rally sitting here, it looks like Guan Leo, you can really kind of swarm that down, and with no field support from OV because they were held back at the desert altar that they had to keep. This is probably not going to go very far for OV, and as you can see, C9N already starting to come into the middle and meet up with OV. I think we called it. About 3 or 4 more minutes, we're going to see a massive battle. Tons of skills go off. Prepare your computers for that. Prepare your phones for that. Prepare your tablets for that. All those skills that are about to go off in the middle here. And this is going to be really where I think this match is going to be won. You can see the scores right now, Gecko. They're relatively even with a pretty decent advantage points per minute wise going towards C9N right now.
Yes, sir. C9N have actually one building more. The reason for that is it looks like we missed it. C9N grabbed the OV Sky Altar. We completely missed that about a minute ago. They just grabbed it right back. And so C9N making a great play, slowing down the points per minute game for OV, which will mean, and someone's still swarming that. Nobody's paying attention to him. He is doing damage, but it doesn't look like he'll have it there. With that being said, that's 450 points in favor of C9N at this stage. They're not just pouring into the middle. They're actually pouring towards the Shrine of War. There's a nice little swarm in here, and Divine Aid being used all over the place. 1 teleport available for each team, which means in terms of teleports, they're fairly even. Now, C9N, as hearing me talk, they just teleported someone in. Advantage for C9N not only on the points, on the teleports too. 1 person teleported further forward more, which means 5 marches are going to march 3 more minutes for OV than for C9N. Oh my goodness, look at the wave in the middle.
I was just about to comment on that. There is a red wave coming from the bottom. It's almost like the Russian army, the Red Army coming through here. And OV seeing that, or I'm sorry, C9N seeing that, kind of backing up just a smidge to give a little bit of the field to OV. And with 1 minute left, that might not have been the best choice, but we do see all those buffs popping up, a bunch of blue and red swirlies about to happen here shortly. Now here's where having properly set up commanders and good selection of commanders in the middle is going to pay off. I see a Tamiris in there. I only see 1 though, so whoever has that Tamiris, in my opinion, that's one of the critical pieces you want in the middle of this matchup. You want a Tamiris to call a target and then just completely nuke that target down, and tons of AoE, which I see Guans, I see Williams, I see Genghis, I see Alex, I see Ethelfleds. All of those commanders are very strong against other groups of players in the middle. Now, C9N is starting to push towards the temple here with 15 seconds left to go. And, of course, here's where it's going to really go down, right?
Oh, my Lord. The lag is just absurd with all the swirlies. All the swirlies at Dragothian. Why do we need the swirlies?
Oh, no. I'm doing okay-ish. on my end. I see on yours it's a little rougher.
I'm a little bit rougher in this scenario. I mean, oh my lordy, this is just not going to end well for anyone. I see a lot of OV in the middle, very little C9N. Trouble for C9N as the Arc of Osiris pops. C9N don't necessarily need to win this arc, but they cannot just let it go down without them getting anything in return. Right now, OV are going to quote-unquote close the gap in terms of the fact that C9N were the ones who took their Sky Altar first. But if C9N managed to take 1 or 2 buildings away from OV as a return for losing this arc, and oh my lordy almighty, that would be okay. This is a 3,000 point arc. It's not the worst thing on earth. There's 45 minutes remaining in this match still. So losing this arc is not the worst thing possible. But I'll tell you what can be the worst thing possible. If you haven't adapted to the 2020 middle strategy, and let me tell you how the 2020 middle strategy works. Back in the day, you had, let's say, for example, 10 players that go to the middle, 7 players that go to the middle, whatever it is. And those players would just hit stuff. Nowadays, what teams have been doing is they've divided themselves into subgroups in the middle. There is 2 players, 10 marches, who charge together at the same march. What that ends up causing is it causes 10 marches go up against the 1 march, and if it's 6 or 8 players in the middle, that is 4 marches getting targeted at the same time. That's how you play the middle nowadays, because as you mentioned, there are so many good buffing and debuffing and crazy commanders out there that you cannot anymore have one list of priority of who you hit. Each group of people needs to have someone they target, and they need to sync between themselves in some shape or form. When middle fight is going on, less communication of the sides while the middle teams talk who they're fighting. That's the way it works, and you can see OV doing that because all I see is frownies by C9N.
Well, look at the top side, however. You got the Shrine of War going in favor of C9N, uncontested really, because all those marches that were supposed to be defending or were defending the Shrine of War for OV were in the middle. And now we also look at the Desert Altar, or the Sky Altar, I'm sorry, at the top as well. That was defended pretty well against the Attila rally that had a couple, like maybe 1 march with it, but now there are tons of reinforcement marches, and now the Sky Altar as well goes in favor of C9N. So now we've got massive disruption from a point standpoint. That's 450 points from the Sky Altar, and I want to say about 270 points from the Shrine of War if OV were able to immediately take it back, which doesn't look like they're going to be able to do. So even if OV does get this first arc, they have committed a lot to the middle. They've lost the buildings, they've lost the buffs, and really it depends on how long C9N can hold these structures. C9N is pouring reinforcements in from the top to at least hold that Sky Altar, and this is going to bode well for them later in the game whenever they've got those points in favor. That's a 590 point per minute versus 360 points per minute, so that's a 230 point delta every single minute. That's the same, especially if these guys capture these structures with a minute and a half on the Shrine of War, which looks like it won't happen. It's about to get swarmed by about 800 marches, but the Sky Altar at the top looks a lot better off, and C9N has an open field presence right here to hit all the reinforcements coming to try and take this Sky Altar. They're going to have to put some significant forces into recapturing that, which is going to give C9N the initiative on the top to go ahead and try and get the structure. Now, I'm looking at the bottom now. C9N is rallying this Desert Altar where this arc is trying to go. There's quite a bit of reinforcements there as well, but there is definitely an overwhelming presence from OV coming over from the middle to try and get this thing captured up.
I don't know, man. The Desert Altar is going down mighty quickly. It is getting reinforced, but if you can keep causing enough disruption in here, there won't be space for the Arc to get into the building, and if there's no space for the Arc to get in the building, 2 thumbs up for C9N, right? They get a little more time. They're taking this Desert Altar down, and there is a very big problem. That Sky Altar is still blue, and it's probably going to stay blue. This is a 3,000 point arc, and only, as you mentioned, from even if OV instantly grabbed the building back, they lost 690 points total. And every single minute, it accumulates another 150 on the Sky Altar and potentially on the Desert Altar too. This can cause a scenario where this arc will not have as big of an impact early on. OV though, did you notice the rotation to the top? They realized that there was a massive push towards the Sky Altar at the bottom, at the top, and very little presence by C9N at their own Desert Altar. OV rotated from the Shrine of War to swarm the Desert Altar that's blue. And if blue cannot get themselves in this building and more reinforcements around here right now, Oh boy, this could end up badly.
Yeah, or they could hold, and this bottom desert altar, I mean, it's surviving, but there is a lot of swarm armies on here. Something I saw that was very interesting that I do really like to see, Chandra. A lot of Chandras being part of these swarms here, and this desert altar may go down, Gecko. It's very, very close. There's a Tamiris, a Chandra debuffing with that enfeeblement skill. That's critical, alongside of hopefully an Ethelfled somewhere in here, maybe behind a Richard. And these blue marches are not going down, but this desert altar looks to be like it may lose its garrison. Now it looks like at the very top, OV did take back that sky altar that they had lost during the middle fight, and this Theodora is also looking a little sketchy when it comes to what's happening.
Oh,
So they may
boy.
be doing some trading off here, bud.
Oh my goodness gracious, C9N and OV going at it. Really quickly, you mentioned earlier that a building was getting swarmed by 800 marches, which is probably the best way to describe it. However, you should know as a Rise of Kingdoms player that you can only swarm a building with up to 10 marches. Why is that important? Because if you're swarming before the rally arrives and 10 marches are swarming, the rally will not hit. If you're swarming with 11 marches, that one march is going to circle around the building. And if there is AoE in the building, the march is going to circle around the building waiting to get a spot. Oh, and there it goes. Oh my goodness. OV. Oh boy, and the Shrine of Life at the bottom goes down as well for for C9N. So that arc was not even delivered yet. The timer on it was reset because C9N picked it up and then dropped it. So 14 more minutes for this arc. But oh my goodness, C9N are disrupting OV. 320 points per minute and a 2,000 point lead. That arc is barely going to be enough to help OV close the gap. Oh
yeah,
boy.
this Theodora is holding strong for C9N at the top. It just barely, just like what OV was doing at the very beginning of the match with their Desert Altar, it had just enough. It's not the most efficient, right? You're losing more troops whenever you do it this way, but at the end of the day, don't lose points equals winning. So if that's the case, we're looking at three altars in favor of C9N right now. Now, who knows how long they're going to keep this Desert Altar that they just took from OV? But Alex Garrison probably not the best. That's what I'm seeing, at least on my screen. I'm not sure if the Garrison has changed and it just hasn't updated yet.
Where are you looking?
But the Desert Altar on the bottom that was just taken from OV.
Alex indeed is there.
Okay, so not the greatest Garrison. Only 2 of his skills operate while inside a Garrison structure. However, there is a lot of reinforcements outside that building hitting all the swarmers. So I don't see really a huge problem with that. But OV's looking to position to go ahead and take this back. One thing I've seen very well, you're looking at the obelisk over here, right? The obelisk at the top left has been taken from C9N. They need to take that back. Not generating teleports for the couple people that they have still in their base is a huge problem. And if they let this thing go down, 2.5 minutes left on the timer, they can OV can start teleporting into this area and maybe starting to zero some of these cities. Now, I know these cities are big. You got 100 million, you got 171 million, you got 117.
I don't know about that.
If you teleport 4 cities in here, swarming, it's not out of the realm of possibility. This match has been going on for almost 25 minutes. You're looking at maybe some depleted troops inside some of these cities, along with the 5 marches that they likely have out as well. That's just a nuisance thing that may be a problem that they may not want to necessarily have to take care of. These matches are run on being timed and choreographed well, and when you have that disruption, sometimes it can be enough. Now, with that being said, C9N just tapped it and took it back. So I'm so glad that I went through all that.
Well, you did go through all of that, and that was important because one thing you mentioned that needs to be said again is up until the 30th minute of the match, you're generating teleports that are significant teleports. What does that mean? If you use Divine Aid throughout the match twice, which 99% of the teams do, it means that by the 30th minute, you've generated a total of 30 teleports, which means, in theory, by the 30th minute, nobody should need to teleport. They should all be out. The Sky Altar goes back down. Oh, no. Oh, my goodness.
This is a huge problem.
For who? I don't know.
For OV.
For OV, for sure.
For OV.
Now, for a lot of coins out there, because people gave C9N that extra edge, and so far it looks like OV are going to have to figure their way out. And going back really quickly to the teleports, 6 teleports available for OV. 2 for C9N. Now C9N just used 2 of them, so we'll discount them for them. But I mean, honestly, it looks like C9N are way ahead of the game when it comes to their coordination and their strategy. They're disrupting OV left and right. They just lost their obelisk and they regained it again. The top one, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, it's getting hit, so that's okay
Sure
there.
is.
Oh my lordy. Drago, what is going on? This match is too hectic. This is not the usual thing.
That's what I'm talking about. So we were just talking about everything's choreographed, everything is timed, everything is made to happen back to back to back to back. It's not supposed to be just a do whatever needs to be done kind of thing. This stuff is choreographed, just like a sports game. It's all coordinated. So with that being said, C9N is doing a great job, and we look at the arc. It was captured, but they are still down because of all the buildings they lost while that arc was being captured. So that arc was nullified with all that needed to capture it, and now it's got a 7.5-minute timer on it. And they get to do that all over again while OV still has 3 altars. Because of the disruption that C9N has done, this has caused OV to get off their game. And when you get off your game, it's not something you've practiced. Because these teams, being in the top 16, I guarantee you, have all practiced this nonstop. OV in particular, they're seasoned veterans, and so are C9N. They've practiced their normal, right? They've practiced their coordinated, organized setup. Okay, I'm going to rally at this point. While I'm rallying at this point, I want 10 armies over here doing this activity. I want this army defending here. I want this player defending this structure. That's their plan, right? Well, when OV is getting constantly barraged and not able to hold their structures, that disrupts that plan. And then on top of all of that, they're also taking 10 minutes, 12 minutes to capture the arc when they are normally thinking about maybe a 4 or 5 minute fairly uncontested when they involve everyone coming to the middle. Because that's basically what they did. That's how they won the arc, was we're just sending everybody. Like, there just wasn't enough people to defend all those other structures. And when you do that, the only way that works is you got to defend the structures while capturing it. And that's just simply not what happened when OV did that.
Absolutely, absolutely. The map did even out in terms of the buildings. However, the points per minute haven't yet evened out, as the red team is missing 2 altars to start ticking in their favor. Now, of course, as I say that, OV have to go get an outpost just to make me be wrong, but it's okay. I forgive them this time. With that being said, Shrine of Life being rallied and Sky Altar at the bottom. Sky Altar was a little bit of trouble, but send the leader of one of the leaders of C9N sent his archers this way with a lot of debuffing and skill damage and got rid of whatever was hitting the Sky Altar. That was very close with a Charles Martel in the lead there at the helm of the garrison. Not the greatest commander, but still, it did the job. Buildings blinking on the top like no one's business. Shrine of War of OV being rallied and doing a lot of damage. OV are just passing by, not doing much about defending this. They're starting to aim towards the middle with 5 minutes remaining. You're already going to the middle. Your Shrine of War is about to go down if you don't do something about it. And maybe the Sky Altar too. I mean, I guess the Arc is more important.
It is to a certain degree, but this has been the strategy of a lot of top tier talent in these Osiris League playoffs: is take the Shrine of War, get the extra buff, or at least remove it from the enemy so that in the middle you have a stats advantage. And the problem is, again, I mean, C9N is doing such a great job keeping these rallies going back to back to back to back. It's keeping OV occupied, keeping marches that would normally go to the middle to support and quickly grab an arc. The chance to have to stay back. I mean, there's OV coming to the middle just like it was before. Now keep in mind, these arcs escalate. So maybe I like to see C9N commit a little more to the middle. We've got 4 minutes left, and all of these armies are already pouring in. This is usually when there's still a little bit of wiggle room. People aren't really necessarily pouring into the middle. This arc is definitely critical, with C9N already having 1,000-point advantage, utilizing that points per minute advantage that they had made for themselves while OV was really overly committed. I think we can really say that, overly committed to the middle while not getting the results whenever you do overcommit quickly enough. And with that being
Overly
said, at the
committed.
top, look at that. Look at that. Overly committed.
Overly committed. I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
Uh-huh.
With the top blinking all over the place for the first time in this match, 30 minutes remaining, OV take the point per minute lead in a substantial manner. 30 points per minute, I guess we can say it's something. That's the one outpost that was taken earlier when I said the build the map was even. Thank you, OV. Buildings blinking all over the place and 3 minutes remaining in the match. Now let me tell you this. As someone who's played Osiris League and Osiris Invitational, Osiris League last season all the way to the top 4 in Osiris Invitational, I'm seeing a lot of early rotations towards the middle, much earlier than they have to be. Realistically, even if you are completely at the other side of the map, if you suicide your march within the 3 minutes towards the middle, you will have 3.5 minutes towards the middle. You will have enough time to march your way into the middle. Now, middle march is usually between 2.5 and 3 minutes, depending on what kind of marches you're sending. So sending marches into the middle 5 minutes ahead of the arc seems a little bit of an overkill. And for the first time this cast, Drago, I crashed.
All good. I can pick it up from here. So again, everything's the same. Everything's even. Although there are some structures that are looking a little rough as the skills are starting to be used in the middle. They're already starting to engage. 2 minutes and 20 seconds until this arc comes up for grabs. And it's looking kind of like it was last time. OV is a little more over-pronounced than C9N when it comes to how many armies they have already here. And there's just a steady stream of red lines with red marches on top of them coming in from the bottom here. And then when I'm looking at the top, it's relatively the same. C9N is definitely looking to pour a lot in, but the problem is a lot of these C9N marches are already a little hurting because OV has placed a lot of marches on the other side as well. I would look for C9N to do the exact same thing here. They need to defend the structures that they're currently getting rallied at, which they're doing a fine job of. They're right at the beginning here, and just like I was thinking, we've got marches going out with rallies on the bottom lane. Harpalycos, it looks like his name is going up against the Shrine of Life, and it looks like OV's trying to go ahead and defend that. The Desert Altar looks completely empty because everybody that was sitting at the Desert Altar on the bottom of OV side has gone to the middle, and if there's a rally coming, which there is, there's a Chandra Gupta rally with what looks to be Saladin, I think. So Chandra Saladin coming in. Chandra's going to debuff the crap out of that Desert Altar, and there is a lot of armies coming right behind it too. So already looking to see OV lose a couple structures here while they're fighting in the middle. Now the middle's where the fun is and also where the lag is. So this arc is going to pop in just 1 minute, and we see a lot again of C9N marches going back with sad faces from the middle. This is going to be a problem that they're going to have to address.
Yes, sir. And that's exactly all a matter of coordination. Which marches are you targeting and why? If you divide into small pods in the middle, that's how you see all these C9N frownies go away compared to the OV ones. It's the 2020 middle strategy, and either you're with it or you frowny face home. And the thing about it is, right, 20 seconds remaining, the likelihood of C9N managing to come back into this arc into the middle is very, 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 very rough. But they can do the same thing they did last time, which is come through the sides. They have plenty of time for their frowny faces to get home. God frowny facing home is going to take about a minute to get home. So as long as that arc doesn't get out of the middle in the next minute or two, potentially, which happened last time around, there will be enough time for C9N to come towards the side lanes. Now, usually we like to spectate the middle, but the thing about the middle is it's too clear that OV are massively destroying that middle with John Wick picking up the arc. But what's really important is to notice the things that are going on in the background around the middle. For the first time, the Shrine of War seems to be decently defended, and C9N's rally with an Attila Chandra doesn't seem to be very successful up there. But at the bottom, the Desert Altar is about to go down once more for OV, and that is another points disruptor. The Shrine of Life is also being rallied, and that one seems to be potentially secured. OV now marching the arc back. I don't know, man. If they don't get it back in real quick and step up their defense game, this could be trouble. This is a 3,500 point arc, by the way.
You know what? OV's really been saved by the bell here when it comes to the outposts. They've been taking these outposts nonstop. There goes another one. That's 90 points per minute whenever you've taken and disrupted those outposts. That's a big deal. That's basically a Shrine of War. And they've got 2 marches dedicated to doing that. St. BB is back here on the C9N line, just taking the outpost back to back to back to back. C9N needs to put a proper defensive, just one army should be sufficient with 300k troops, because really you can only attack with, 600k at best. And if you got a proper commander against single troop, you should be okay with just one march. But OV's already pulling back with a quickness with this arc and already won the middle. I mean, that was quick. This is what they wanted to do the first time. They wanted to grab the middle, get the arc, and just bolt back. And that's exactly what they're doing. There is zero presence over here from C9N. This is a huge deal. Now, they are down points per minute wise, OV, but again, because they're going to capture this arc really quickly, they're going to give themselves a chance to grab the arc again. And I think this match is really going to boil down to who captures that last arc. And OV, you guys know, as you just saw, are specialists on capturing the arc and grabbing it and rolling. So this is going to be a huge blow. Even though they did lose the Desert Altar here, at least for a little bit, now there's a bunch of armies coming back from the middle, uncontested, not disrupted, because there is no open field presence from C9N. There wasn't enough time to get C9N presence over here. Now it's going to be Swarm Town. And as much as this YSS is made to kind of go up against Swarm, not this much Swarm.
Absolutely. There goes the arc. Gets popped in. For the record, we showed, as you were mentioning, that OV does indeed have one march in each outpost. Very easy. Even a demon with a double hit here just cannot take this this garrison, which is a Richard and I believe an Alex? A Richard Charles Martel, who is a great pickup because honestly, if you're going to swarm that building with a Charles Martel, that's a bad idea. Can you guys see the amount of... I call them like, it reminds me kind of like of these, there is some different religions that have these rituals where they go around certain buildings and things. Look at the scene of the OV marches rotating around the building. These are marches that are doing nothing right now. There's over 10 marches swarming the building, and as a return to that, you can see all of these OV marches just straight up rotating around the building, doing absolutely nothing. If there is an AoE situation in here, those marches do take the damage without anything being done. And those marches could have already postured forward to get rid of these open field marches coming in from OV. Do not swarm a building with more than 10 marches. It's completely and utterly pointless for you. All you're going to do is you're going to rotate around the building nonstop. And Lambo, now finally realizing that, is pushing forward. Could have done that 5 minutes ago.
Good stuff. Now, with that being said, the Sky Altar is now in favor of C9N at the very top.
That's new.
So
that's new.
That
doesn't
keep
happen
on
before.
Grabbing that and taking it. Now, this is kind of offsetting a little bit of the outpost being grabbed. Now, it looks like OV really has about a 1,400 point favor to their point total right now, but having all their structures and having the Sky Altar on top of that, that's a huge deal. We're looking at almost, 210 points per minute right now in favor of C9N, and this Sky Altar doesn't look to be going down anytime soon. It's got a proper garrison in it, and all those open field marches are now coming down in support of taking maybe this Shrine of War, which should be getting rallied here any second. It surely is from Sparta. Here comes an Attila rally about maybe a minute out. So maybe a little early on the coming down for C9N from that top structure there. But again, you're looking at the top over here, C9N just keeps losing their outposts. I think this may be, if it doesn't come down to the last arc, this may be the difference. I mean, this is probably a couple thousand points that this is causing over the course of the match. Losing and then having to retake, losing and then having to retake over and over and over again. You're just not generating points for yourself. While OV, for the most part, even though they did lose that outpost at the very bottom, it took everything both of those marches had to do it. They're just gaining more points from those particular structures, and that's a big deal.
Yes, sir. But honestly, C9N have been holding on to 3 altars for the longest time. Yes. I have not seen OV in the lead points per minute wise with more than 50 points per minute for more than 2 minutes. They've always lost that, and now they're 260 points behind. With 20 minutes remaining, in theory, if it remains like this, that's 5,200 points that the folks in the blue team are going to generate, and they are down by a mere 1,000 points. So this match is going to be insanely close. Mm-hmm. At this point, you can also start taking obelisks away from the other team. That's still 20 points per minute that C9N just took away from OV up there at the top. So that's exactly what you're saying. Any points disruptors are great. The problem is altars are the #1 priority, and it doesn't look like OV can take one from C9N, let alone hold on to their own. They are in the lead, and they're in a lead by 1,100 points. They're going to definitely need that last arc, which comes up in about 4 minutes. They could, in theory, get a 4th one, too, if this goes as fast as the last one does. You know what's my favorite word that it's going to come down to, in my opinion? Can you say it?
Provisions.
Yes, sir. That's right. It is going to come down, in my opinion, not only to that arc, but also to provisions. I think that C9N are closing the gap of those arc points substantially with their points per minute lead. But the provisions are really going to give them that extra edge. At the end of the day, 3 arcs is 10,500 points. Having that much of a lead in the occupation game is really, really rough. But if you can get 8,000 points and then 2,000 points in provisions, you're good to go.
Yeah, 2,000 points is I want to say kind of low.
I meant 2,000 difference, right, between OV and...
Okay, yeah. Gotcha, the delta. Okay, got it.
The delta,
so,
yeah,
I
my
do
bad.
see some provisioning happening on the OV side, but it's all happening from people in the base, not from people who are teleported out onto the map. Let me check the C9N side and see if it's kind of the same or if they're doing it from the teleport spots. It looks like, again, the same. I see a couple marches kind of running around behind the obelisks here to grab resource nodes with one march, just going node to node to node to node. That's the way to do it instead of going to a node and then coming back to your city and going to a node and coming back to your city. It's just not the way to do it. It's not efficient. You're wasting a lot of time marching. So both of these teams are doing a good job with that. That will definitely come into play with an 800-point difference in favor of OV right now, but C9N having about 250 point per minute advantage, or 150 point per minute advantage here. This is going to be interesting. This arc is going to spawn in 2.5 minutes, and when I'm looking at the middle, it's going to be the same thing.
I'm looking at a sea of red. I am seeing a sea of red. Just oh my goodness. Everybody's like, yep.
Already in the middle.
Oh my lordy. And this is, again, C9N's chance to either react to this in the buildings game or figure out how they reacted in the middle. At this point, they're generating more points. They need to be able to take maybe that Sky Altar back away from OV and then just delay the arc. At this point, C9N doesn't even need to win this arc. They need to delay it enough to ensure that this is the last arc. That's step number 1. And step number 2 would be to make it as expensive as possible. Close this gap, which is about, the points just jumped and threw off my math. 1,300 points in favor of OV. If they grab this arc, that's 5,300 points in their favor. If C9N can close this 1,300 point gap before the arc comes in, that means only a 4,000 point delta. There will be maybe a slight chance, but C9N have to close this delta now and figure out how they're going to increase that delta while they delay this final arc. In theory,
I think C9N's messing up here, Gecko. So you can see, you saw OV was just kind of doing their positioning on their pods, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're nowhere near the friggin' temple. Why are you coming down just to come into their buzzsaw? You just sit at the temple and take the arc. You're killing all of your marches that could be used to kill the marches that will be chasing your arc carrier. All you see is just blue sad faces running away because they just came down into the buzzsaw for no reason. There's no reason for them to come down here and be attacking these 2 pods of players that they're just pouring troops into. You got Slouty coming in here from the bottom, Peanut Bunny coming down from the bottom, Pedro Justin coming from the bottom. There's no reason. You have the temple. Don't just kill your troops for no reason. It doesn't make sense. Just sit at the temple and take everything. It's fine.
So I can see a world where this could be maybe a good thing if they had a second wave that was close enough. So you send first wave to soften the OV marches so that the second wave can really put the damage in. And at this point, we're not even... But where is it? Yeah, that's the problem. It's like they're potting up and they're just destroying you one by one. And doing this would require it to be a little bit earlier than that. At this stage, I mean, there's so many things going on in the middle. I'm not even seeing marches at this point. We're just seeing numbers and arrows and hoping and praying something will render. But C9N are just, I don't know why they just pushed the envelope. I don't get it.
So the arc is available to be captured because OV has basically just buzzsawed half of the armies that really shouldn't have been touched from C9N. They are
Ooh.
able to start to push towards it. However, C9N does have the arc and is moving back with it with a Genghis March. But now, because they don't have the open field presence that they did a minute ago, OV has been able to come up here and really just drop the arc carrier. And now it's kind of like a cluster F in the middle here with all the C9N and OV marches really surrounding the temple, whereas before they would have had to break their pods, which is their strength. The OV strategy that you just described here is the strength is being in those pods. They placed the pods way too far south. It doesn't make sense where they placed it. So C9N, instead of going down there and buzzsawing themselves, should just stayed there. Should just stayed there. That way they had to break their pod to come to you. You had the field around where the arc spawns. There's no reason to come down.
I don't know, man. It's working. Listen, I'm with you. I 100% agree. But what's happening on the field is very weird. C9N made the best possible 100% play, which is drop the arc on their side and push it a little bit more their way. Why is that good? Because now they can get to it quicker, considering OV now have to somehow get back here. Listen, I'm seeing blue marches. I don't see red marches. I see a ton of frownies marching home. Red frownies. I see a boatload of white marches all around this arc. What C9N did is they dropped the arc on their side. They lost the arc carrier, and then every single time OV pick up the arc, they just go after the arc carrier. And am I crazy? Maybe it's not rendering. Drago, am I seeing here more blue than red at this stage?
You are, and you're seeing a lot of OV pour in from the bottom too. So there is some sad faces going back for OV now, which we haven't seen in the past. This blue number is starting to dwindle a bit, but because, again, like you said, they're a little farther onto their side, they are getting some reinforcements, which is, I think, what has helped them kind of keep the field presence where OV had lost it. Same thing happened last time for OV. They had the arc really quickly and were able to pull it pretty quickly back to their side, and that gave them the reinforcement advantage. Now, it looks like the map is starting to split vertically instead of horizontally, so there's two obelisks in favor of each team
that are not supposed to be theirs.
Yeah,
they're not supposed to be theirs.
So I think they're trying to change the map a little bit, but I think the thing that the C9N needs to do right now is make sure they capture this arc. I would hold it because this has been their downfall the entire match. I would not capture it right away, or at least make sure that there's not another arc to do, and then really focus on the strategy that's been helping them stay and potentially win this game is the structures. Now, speaking of structures, that obelisk on the top left that's currently for OV, that's going to capture in 20 seconds. That, I think, has some troops in it. So they're either needing to rally that or they're not paying attention because the middle is so critical. It is very critical. But that obelisk is going to go in favor of OV here in the next 5 seconds. And there's no rally coming. There is no open field marches coming. They're just going to let them take it.
There's one more thing.
There's one player. That's it.
There's one more thing we're not paying attention to, honestly, is the points per minute. OV have taken it for quite a bit. They've been 90 points per minute plus ahead for quite a little bit now. They have secured their own buildings, which is good. And now they're C9N poured everything into the middle. They are 2,700 points behind. This is a 4,000 point arc, so they're really looking to take this final arc. There's a lot more blue marches than red marches in the middle right now, but red is punishing in the points per minute. Every single minute this takes, they're growing their lead. Well, what?
Keep grabbing the arc. They keep grabbing the arc.
That's okay.
We'll just OV grab the arc.
That's fine. Grab the arc and swarm the arc carrier down, and then grab yourself the arc and run. I don't see necessarily the worst thing on earth in this. The problem is OV are slowly and steadily starting to take over the middle, and if C9N is not going to do anything quick, OV is also taking the points per minute game. Everything is crumbling down, and now it went from C9N having to delay this arc because they were so good in the buildings game to must have this arc in order to win, really, because they're not doing good in the points per minute game no more. Lord have mercy.
Yep, I agree. And again, the problem with letting OV cap the arc is they are so quick to move it an inch on the screen or 2 inches on the screen. Like, you let them take the arc, it's not just going to go like a little fraction of a spot. OV has that march already queued up to go back towards their side. Every time you let them take that arc, it's minutes off of your capture time. And like you said, C9N, it's not a matter of holding it. It's a matter of we need to capture the crap out of this right now because we are down by almost 3,000 points. This being a 4,000 point arc with 10 minutes to go and not having the points per minute advantage right now that we're used to having.
There's a breakout arc carrier.
Interesting.
There's a breakout arc carrier for C9N. He is making moves. Now he's getting swarmed. Finally, there's Slouty on his butt, and that's it. But hey, he's making moves, and he's making big moves right now. Very, very important point that Drago made. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not have to wait until the arc is on your back to decide where to go. While the arc is getting ready to rock and roll, you need to be able to, you can select your march on the right side of the screen in the march list, and you can already have the arrows ready to go. As soon as the arc is on you, go. Gotta go. Oh my goodness gracious.
Now C9N has it again. They're moving. Let's see who has. Oh my goodness. It's a Minna who's getting swarmed down and not moving at all. He just dropped it again. Like he had half health on my screen and then he was just evaporated. So this is definitely going in favor of really OV. I think this is, if I had to put a winner on what's happening right now, it's got to be OV because as long as OV keeps them from at least not capturing it, which sure for C9N did just do, there's a lot of blue sad faces rolling back. OV is constantly reinforcing from the bottom too. This is looking more and more like a red middle and a lot of blue marches just going away. They still have not captured their obelisk back. Let me even just take a quick peek over here and see if they...
Neither have OV, by the way.
Yeah, I mean... But they've also taken the other obelisk at the top. I mean, they're not generating points. They're not generating teleports, which aren't a huge deal at this point of the game. But the points are, and I mean, everything's starting to turn red on the map. They have to, they being C9N, get this arc. And right now, OV has control of it.
Yes, sir, and we the game once more froze. Thank you, Lilith. Can you imagine them playing in this madness right now? We'll bring you the cast right back in the craziness that this is. Trust me when I tell you, if you think our cast looks bad, you should see their devices. You can probably fry an egg at this point on their devices as it's going crazy. We apologize for that. It's the best rig we can have, but at the end of the day, it's all a matter of, how many people are watching, what's going on with this damn server lag.
Okay, so the arc here is captured by OV again, but it's stationary. It's not moving. But again, I'm looking at the center here, and it's just all red. Like there's just nothing but red marches. This arc is starting to go right beside the Temple of Osiris, where it started from. So all the headroom that C9N had made is now gone, and with 7.5 minutes left to go, it's doable to capture it. But I mean, I'm not sure if C9N has the volume of players with basically having lost their entire middle team, or basically their entire team in general, because they were all in the middle, to capture this and take it back to a structure in 7 minutes. I just don't know if they can do it.
Oh, Lord. I don't think that they got what it takes. The question is, can they stop OV from doing the same? OV have now the points per minute game by a fairly substantial amount. We're looking at 160 points per minute in their favor. So their 2,000 point lead, 2,700 point lead is going to grow even further by another 1,000 points, give or take, on the points per minute game. I don't know if C9N have what it takes to stop this arc from even being delivered, or let alone get them themselves. But if OV take this arc way at the end, that middle game is going to really be what kills C9N right here. 3,000 point lead now in the favor of OV. It looks like maybe provisioners are starting to trickle in for OV as well. Make sure that you have your provisioners coming home. If they don't get home before the time goes to 0, the points do not count. At this point, I think that it's going to be a very tough uphill battle for C9N to win this. 6 minutes remaining, unless they pull a rabbit out of there somewhere and manage to stop this arc from being delivered by OV. C9N are looking at being eliminated at the round of 16 in Osiris League Season 3. And I think that would be a pretty big blow for them, as the arc is just breaking out. It's a OV. Oh my goodness, that march is marching so fast.
Yep.
That Osiris is just flying. And let's hope and pray that he has all the equipment to make him fast like that and not something else, because at this stage, this man is is a hero, and he's being swarmed. He's probably going to go down momentarily, and I can tell you right now, you can see the blue march is already targeting the outpost. This is going to be... Whoa. I mean, hello, Belisarius? What just happened?
Nothing happened on my screen, but he is about to go down, maybe.
Is he, though?
He's got a sliver of health left. There is a blue march really trying to get to him. There it goes down. My goodness, he's literally on the doorstep.
Boy.
But this is going to be a huge problem. I mean, I think OV is going to capture this, and if they capture this, that is the match, folks. With 5 minutes left, there's no way, unless they've been secretly provisioning while OV has not. Yep, there he goes. Went and grabbed it.
Is there space in the outpost? Is there space in the outpost?
Is he going to cap it?
Someone needs to get in here and fight the fights. Get the outpost.
Oh, it's a 3,000 point difference right now in favor of OV. The arc is moving, but not inside the structure. There's a Charles holding it though, so that's.
But the problem is Autumn needs to get in. They need space in there to get that arc in, and if people are refilling that outpost for it to not go down, then the arc carrier cannot go in. This is worst case scenario for OV. Right now, C9N, they just need to swarm the heck out of this building, no matter what. If they take the building, awesome, and lost control, they're going for the arc. They need to take the building as well. Listen, this arc is not necessarily going in.
And C9N took the out. No, that's not the right outpost.
Not the
right
outpost.
outpost. Not this one, though. So, John Wick has the Ark of Osiris now. Let's see if he can jump in. It's a 35. There it is.
There's the escort. And that right there is the match.
Yep. Now it's a 9,000 point difference, by the way. All the provisions are starting to come back for OV as well. C9N just did not have enough in the middle. I mean, again, I think I got to say it. I mean, at the beginning, you killed half of your troops for no reason. That was my point. That as this started to go on, and OV knows how to reinforce the middle. That's their thing. That's their jam. That's what they do. You got to have everything available, and it was literally like swarming a city instead of doing a proper rally. That's basically what just happened. And they did claim the open field there, but what did it matter? OV was able to reinforce quickly, and those marches that you could have had there to help defend that arc carrier going back were either half health or just gone. So I think that's where the mistake was made. That was the mistake there. You've got really what looks to be an 8,000 point swing. So if it had gone C9N's way, it would be 39,736 to 31,000. So I mean, you would have basically seen. No, it would have been even. I'm sorry. It would have been even, 35 to 36,000 roughly. So this would have been really, truly what Gecko had kind of prophesized earlier, down to provisioning. And I think OV, just looking at these numbers, have also won that too. I'd be surprised if OV doesn't have more provisioning numbers once we see these stats towards the end of the match. I think that they're going to go in favor of OV as well. C9N did a great job on the structures. They have taken the altar at the bottom, again, for the desert altar for C9N. But again, it's kind of a little too late kind of situation. The arc's captured. The match is won really at this point. We've got an 8,000 point difference between OV and C9N. Rip my coins for our bets. And I know that a lot of people out there really put a lot of onus on C9N to get this win for them and really help win them their league bet situations. That's another thing that kind of went south for everybody else with that arc capture. Kudos to OV for really holding strong the entire match and then putting it in the basket when it was needed the most.
Yes, sir. And as always, the community here started it before us. Let's get a GG spam in the chat for both teams. Congratulations to OV. Once more out of the top 16 and into the top 8. 411K is losing to Rose, which is not unpredictable. But
that's kind of unpredictable to me.
Apparently so. Rose are actually taking a victory away from 411K. We'll go take a look at that momentarily. At least some of my coins are going to come back in some shape or form. But with that being said, OV making it to the top 8. OV one more match away from the Osiris Invitational Season 2. And what can be said at this point? At this point, C9N are once more going to go back to the drawing boards. Send is going to owe us a little bit of coins along the way. We'll make sure to close that debt with him later on. But regardless, if there's one thing that we could take away from this match is that you cannot be perfect at one thing and completely neglect another thing in this match. It's okay to lose every single arc so long as you're so dominant in the buildings game and you put some sort of pressure in the middle that the other team cannot do what OV did, which is 2 arcs were super easy for them. The third one, if the first 2 ones were like the third one, Drago, I think this match would have looked completely different.
Yeah, I agree. The arc dominance that OV has shown in this match, you just don't see that everywhere, and that's why they were the season 1 champions. They were doing it without the stacking method or whatever you want to call it. And again, OV didn't have as much provisions, about 200 less, about 150 less. 6,000 point, 7,000 point game in favor of OV. Congratulations to OV for the win. Again, going to that round of 8, and C9N putting up a solid fight, but that number at the top, right, Gecko?
Yes, sir.
0.
Yes, sir.
10,500. That's a huge difference right there. It's a big difference.
And believe it or not, C9N was leading the points per minute game the whole match, but they only made 3,400 points more. It's not a substantial difference. They did win the provisions game, but not by enough. The delta we were talking about was 2,000 plus. That never happened. When it comes to kills and deaths, C9N put more damage in terms of the killing department, but they actually ended up healing more than OV did by a slight. We're looking quickly at teleports and occupations and all that. It looks like OV, curiously enough, didn't use their 30th teleport. That could come bite them in the butt next time they play against a team that might put up against them a bigger fight in the middle. And yeah, Drago, any final words before we conclude this cast?